US military exercises in China's vicinity, and the necessity of deployment of THAAD, we haven't talked about missile defense in South Korea, freezes on things like this are also in China's interests. So I mean, it can serve both countries' interests, and I think it's important to recognize the similar interests there.
Okay, with that I think we leave the security issues for the time being, because that again would merit another talk, roundtable discussion. Coming back to trade, Christina, what would a small country like Sweden benefit from what was said during the Congress on trade issues? What is the improved relations between China and Sweden when it comes to trade? What do you see ahead of us?
Coming from after this Party Congress, I think that both Sweden and China are very pro-free trade, but I think that we should, I mean, it is one thing when Xi Jinping stands there at the Party Congress or at the World Economic Forum and talks about how he is in favor of free trade and liberalization and so on. It's up to show if you really want to do it. I mean, it's one thing to say, and it's just lip service, and we have not seen. I mean, we have a lot of problems for foreign companies going into China. They do not have the same market Sweden has. We give Chinese companies a lot of market access here. I'm not sure that, I mean, China would have allowed a company like Huawei to set up their business next to if they had an Ericsson, like we did, for example. Because there are a lot of things that you need to consider. Everything that China is doing is not always what you have to look behind the curtain, so to say. And I do believe that if Xi Jinping is now talking about having greater market liberalization, more free trade, more open up for foreign direct investment, because China does need foreign direct investment, well, maybe we should actually take him to his word and say, okay, so you want more foreign direct investment, then take away all these things that are denying market access. Show us that you actually mean what you're saying.
So this is an issue where time will tell, I suppose.
Time will tell, but I think that we should also use this opportunity that he's actually saying these things, and actually say, okay, so you say that you're going to close down the steel mills and stop dumping steel, cheap steel, Chinese steel on the world market. Do it. Show that you can actually do it. We need to see action. We do not need any more beautiful speeches. We need to see something happening as well.
Mr. Lee, I won't ask you to comment on that. I think that is a message for you to take home more. But let's move back to politics again. We have now a new people who have been elected to the Politburo. What do we know about these individuals? What is the significance of not naming or hinting who will be the successor of the president? Could you comment on that? What do we know about the new Politburo? And what could it lead to?
Well, the fact that we haven't had a named, or actually, I mean, this is one of the informal structures or informal norm that has been going on for the Party Congress for the last 20 years. That there is a system where you indicate by moving a candidate up to the Politburo, to serve in the Politburo, and then move that person to the Standing Committee. And that person should be of a certain age in order to be able to be the next General Secretary. Well, this did not happen this year because all the members in the Standing Politburo, Standing Committee of the Politburo, are too old to be serving for two terms. They could serve for one term, but not for 2 terms. If they should follow the other informal norm of the pension age, which is the 67 down, 68 up, meaning that when you're 68, you have to retire. And this is, I mean, this is nothing that has been written down in any kind of institution or you know, in the charters. It's an informal rule that was made up by Jiang Zemin because he wanted to get rid of Jiang Shangkun during the 90s. But it has become a norm. And that is very important because that's what I was talking about. We the system needs predictability in order to get stability. Because the China system, in contrary to, for example, the US system, which has a constitution that actually works and that limits the current president, although he might be extremely unpredictable in what he's doing, the system limits him in what he can do. But you don't have the same thing in China. So in China, you're much more dependent on the leader being predictable. But then you have these informal norms. So that's why it's really important. And that's why it's important that Wang Qishan did not stay on his position in the Politburo, because that would have signaled that this informal norm that you must retire at the age of 69, which he wasn't, that it's broken, and then the predictability of the system disappears. So that's significant. When it comes to the members of the Standing Committee, some people would fear that these new members would only be Xi loyalists. Of course, we don't really know exactly who's loyal to whom. You can speculate. You can see what kind of background they have. If they come from the Communist League, or they come from the so-called Prince League. Different kind of discussions of different fractions. But it seems that it's quite balanced. For example, Wang Yang, who served in Guangdong, he used to work in the Communist League, so he comes from that kind of background. He's also, when he was serving in Guangdong province as party secretary, he was portrayed as quite a liberal person that did, had a liberal kind of attitude in contrast to other parts. Then, of course, it's really interesting to have an academic, Wang Hunin, as a part of the very powerful Standing Committee of the Politburo. We don't know, well, he's written a lot, and he's been very tightly connected to all the previous party secretaries. So exactly what that will mean, we don't know, but it's different, because he used to be a very technocratic group of people who had engineering backgrounds, but now it's a more mixed of law, social science, so it's interesting in that sense.
Well, time flies, and we'll soon let the audience to ask questions to the panel. I have one final question. I think that would go to you first.
Thank you.
Which, I mean, you are now welcome to Sweden. We are much focused on gender balance. And one thing, in the Congress, it seemed that the representation of women have increased from 18 to 25%. But when it comes to Politburo, it has gone down from 2 to 1. Is that an issue that you are discussing much in China? Is that something that is of concern? What is the role of women in Chinese politics, and how could these numbers be interpreted?
First of all, I have to reply just
Maybe short.
Very brief. Yes, China is a different country. We abide by the WTO rules. When we are opening more and more wider to the outside world, we follow the rules. And we also hope that our trading partners will also follow the WTO rules. For example, the sunset clause. Now we should stop to the surrogate law, or what you call that, surrogate country method. Now China should not, the clause. You should honor local communities also. We are, if you read the report, China will be one more open. Next is about the gender issue.
Yes.
In China, especially after 1950s, we have a thing that the Chinese women are holding up half of the sky. Usually in families, sometimes the ladies make decisions. They are the queen. This time, maybe there are fewer female members. I think this is a crisis. When the delegates select the committee members, they only concentrate on their ability, on their experience, on their integrity. Whether you are a gentleman or you are a lady, it's not that important.
Okay, I think we stop there. I think this could lead too far. Because the obvious comment from my side would be, isn't it strange that you only found one competent woman for the Politburo in all of China? But I'll leave it to that. Now we have to invite the audience.